Welcome back to Beyond the Spectrum. This is our family's journey of autism shared with you, and I am Dream. This is episode 29, the long-awaited episode where we finally get to meet Mikey, and he is here with me now. And I was kind of sharing with him that it's a little bit odd for me because it feels like I've already introduced him to everyone. And then I realized, well, I've only introduced him as I see him, so he might have some other things to share, obviously. And but right before we started this, I was thinking during this summer, one of their friends had mentioned, oh, Micah, he's like the main character. And I did not know what that means because I'm a typical mom. And so I had asked my kids, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? So Micah, I'll ask you, what does it mean when somebody says you're the main character?
Well, personally, first and foremost, thank you for having me.
Of
It's a dream.
course.
It's a pleasure to be here. But that was kind of an interesting compliment, if I could say, for myself as well. So I just think when I think of a main character, I just think of, well, the person that the story evolves around the most.
Right.
So with that being said, I try to do these more, I guess, non-typical things of a growing young man to make the story seem more interesting, because at the moment it's just waking up, going to work, and figuring out what comes next. So
Yeah.
not much of an interesting story for anyone watching.
So you don't feel like you being featured as the main character would be that interesting right now?
Well, quite frankly, this is the story. This is a family's journey of going through autism.
Yeah.
So
you are the main character.
Quite frankly, how about yeah.
That will probably be the title, the main character.
You've probably built it up to where it seems a lot more interesting than it really is.
You know what? Sometimes I feel like I do that with myself too. I feel like by the time I get to the main part of the story, I've built it up so much that I've made it anticlimactic. But I will say this. This is probably the episode that everybody has been looking forward to the most. So I don't think it's going to be anticlimactic. I think everybody's very interested in getting to know you. We have questions, but before we get to the questions, I thought you could just kind of tell us about yourself, things that, I mean, you've been listening along the way.
Right.
So you could talk about anything that you find maybe that I didn't cover. There will be things that probably I bring up in the questions that will spur more conversation on, maybe some other things that you want to share. But just to start off, I don't know, do you have anything that you want to share?
Oh, let's see, where do I start? Just a matter of, I guess, where I could. There was a time I was personally feeling like there was something wrong with me. Yeah. I would say, I was maybe around 12 years old.
Interesting.
Yeah. I remember one time I was just laying in bed at night thinking about life. I think about very, very random things.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember the fullness of it, but I do remember thinking of like a massive multitude. Maybe not, I don't remember what exactly the multitude was, but it was like just this giant group of things in it. Out of nowhere, I just immediately shrunk it down to one person, and out of nowhere, it felt like my mind had like some sort of spasm. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing in the world. So
okay, so explain that a little bit more. So you were in bed and you were thinking of
maybe just like a giant group of people, we'll just call it that. A giant group of people, or maybe just a really, really loud noise.
Okay.
It's like
yes.
It's easier to understand if it's like a really loud noise. In fact, I may still be able to do it as well. It's just this thing of being so used to how many people there are, or how big the mass is.
Yes.
And then you just immediately take all that away and you're left with something else. And just one tiny little thing in that group and nothing else. It just feels like it was this big discomfort to me because it was something I had to get used to all over again.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you think that maybe that was something that you had experienced when you were younger and then it kind of came back?
No. Well, I mean, it's just a matter of, I guess, the way my mind gets used to things easily. For example, a long time ago, obviously, when we lived in Southern California, the thought of moving from there into Central California was like a big change for me.
Yeah, I remember that.
The big intimidation of moving.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember that with like your take on that was something that weighed a lot in the decision of us going. We
right.
actually didn't make the decision as a family until you gave the final okay, because we knew that that was so, yeah. And so maybe people would think, oh, so you let him make the decision. And it's like, no, what we've always maintained all along has been being unanimous.
Right.
And so we knew that you struggled with it. So it wasn't a decision that we were going to make. But when you decided, okay, I think this might be a good move for us, then we were able to kind of go forward.
Right.
But yeah, going back to what you said, so do you think that that's kind of something like you said, I think describing it as noise is something that everybody probably can relate to, because I think we all have these places where all of a sudden we get really overwhelmed by things. But maybe, I don't know, because I'm not inside your mind, but maybe for you, maybe the threshold for that is lower. Maybe like you get overwhelmed by things that become noise in your head, in ways that maybe we, like people in your family or people, other friends of yours, have maybe learned to manage at like higher levels, do you think?
Definitely. Personally, I know you hate when I say this, but I personally believe that I'm a very slow learner when it comes to more skills. But there are also things that I'm quicker at learning. I believe that, for all you don't know, I am a musician. When I first developed a passion for music, I felt like it was a lot easier for me to understand it and get better at it than some people would, because I enjoyed it so much and I wanted to be better. So maybe that's not me, maybe that's other people, maybe just people who love what they do, which just become better faster than other people do, than someone who just views it as a chore.
I think that you're correct there. I think that there are people who can probably do it fast, but I think that's part of one of your gifts, that you can fixate on something really, you could become really laser focused on something and just completely, commit to that totally.
Right.
And I think that is exactly what happened. I think you became really motivated to conquer that. And when you set your mind on it, I mean, you just kept getting better and better and better. And I kept being super impressed with wherever you would be at, and then not realize that you could even go further. And every time that you would come back, you just got better and better. And it's like, I've stopped really limiting you in that, because I just keep thinking the more that I realize that I think we all limit ourselves, and I was probably limiting you, thinking, okay, this is probably it for him,
Right.
but it's not, because you keep pushing harder and longer, and you keep getting better. And it's neat to be able to see that, because maybe it kind of goes along with what you just said, being able to eliminate the noise and bringing it down to one.
Well, if I may, actually, it wasn't the noise. It wasn't me eliminating the noise. It was the noise just immediately being taken away. Granted, I did take it away myself, but it was just a matter of if it was taken away, what would happen. I probably can't explain it as well, man. I could, but I can't explain like every little thing. There's so many little things, and I know we don't have much time left.
No, but hey, if we need to continue longer, we will, because this is so fascinating.
So, we'll think of it as like maybe a song.
Okay.
With like all the loud drums and maybe a couple violins and just like all this surrounding noises blending together really harmoniously, and then all of that is given a break.
Yeah.
And then maybe there's like a little piano.
Yeah.
Playing a couple of notes.
Right.
That's personally what it felt like. That like, whoa, where did everything go? What happened? What happened? And then who knows, maybe it would happen again, like getting used to that, all that noise being brought back in maybe like a couple measures later.
Yeah.
So, but it was just a matter of where did the noise go. I enjoyed all the noise. What happened? So
okay, so I was thinking the noise was negative, but you were kind of
because that I was getting used to that.
Okay.
But taking all that away and getting used to something else was the challenge.
Okay.
So when I did that, in my mind, I was just like, wait, what in the world was that? I was thinking, what was the spasm? What was that little trigger? What just happened?
Yeah.
What was that discomfort? I was literally thinking, am I autistic?
Right
there.
I remember that, actually, now that you're saying that.
Yeah.
I remember when we had finally said, I mean, we did tell you when you were younger. It's kind of like sometimes I wonder if kids are told at a young age that they're adopted, it's so young that they just accept it into their reality, and then nothing feels different until a later moment where they're like, oh yeah, that's right, I am kind of thing like that. And I wondered, when we told you early, it was kind of like, make it part of existence, don't make it this big reveal kind of thing,
Right.
but I guess you had this moment where you're like, you know what.
When that happened, I got terrified.
Mm.
Personally, I got terrified because I had seen. I remember watching Temple Grandin, the movie, and seeing all the struggles that she was going through, and I was thinking all the little things that trigger her, like not wanting to get touched.
That's right.
And not wanting to be around people.
Yeah.
But the thing that was kind of interesting was that people with autism fixate themselves with patterns.
Yeah.
Like maybe walking home from school one day, and then they take their coat off and they hang it on the second post. And if they walk home from school one day and they take off their jacket and they see that the second post has been taken by another coat, it's just, the simple answer is put it on the next post.
Right.
But instead, that pattern has been destroyed.
Right.
And they've been so fixated with that pattern, they've been so comfortable with it that they can't take it sometimes.
Right.
I usually refer to that myself as like an overload.
Okay.
When it's just
too
not
much.
Understanding.
Yeah.
Personally, that's what it wasn't just too much. It was just not understanding.
Okay. So let's stay there. And we are at like 13 minutes now. So no, we're going to continue. Yep. And this is probably not going to be just episode 29 and 30. So I'll just say, this is fascinating. I don't want to let this go. So you'll have to come back tomorrow to pick up on the next episode. And let's just close this out now and then keep going.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, bye.